Hello? Testing. Everybody please find their seats. We'd like to start the program. Let's hear it for the Demolition Brass Band. Dave Mullen on saxophone, Tony Garuso on trumpet, Adam McCatchy on trombone, Dave Diamond on snare drum, and Vin Scalia on bass drum. The Demolition Brass Band, thank you. Everybody please take their seats so we can start the first video of the program. Lights come down.
This will be the day when all of God's children be able to sing with new meaning, my country tears of thee. Sweet land of liberty of thee I sing. Land where my fathers died, land of the pilgrim's pride. From every mountainside, let freedom ring. And if America is to be a great nation, this must become true. So let freedom ring. From the prodigious hilltops of New Hampshire, let freedom ring. From the mighty mountains of New York, let freedom ring. From the heightening Alleghenies of Pennsylvania, let freedom ring. From the snow-capped Rockies of Colorado, let freedom ring. From the curvaceous slopes of California. But not only that, let freedom ring from Stone Mountain of Georgia. Let freedom ring from Lookout Mountain of Tennessee. Let freedom ring from every hill and molehill of Mississippi, from every mountainside. Let freedom ring, and when this happens, when we allow freedom to ring, when we let it ring from every village and every hamlet, from every state and every city, we will be able to speed up that day when all of God's children, black men and white men, Jews and Gentiles, Protestants and Catholics, will be able to join hands and sing in the words of the old Negro spiritual, free at last, free at last. Thank God Almighty, we are free at last.
Good evening. I'm Larry Levy of the National Center for Suburban Studies, and I've been the MC of this event for all 14 years. I usually stay off stage until all the performers are done, and then we get into the gabbing section of the program. But I wanted to make an exception tonight, and that's to honor the inspiring heroism of the Ukrainian people and the thousands of Ukrainian Americans on Long Island who are working feverishly and quite literally to bring light and warmth to millions facing death in the Russian invasion. Please welcome the Iskra Ukrainian Dance Ensemble. That was the Iskra Ukrainian Dance Ensemble performing Hutsulka Rhapsodia. There's more information about them in the journal, but please show your appreciation for the musicians. Natalia, a Ukrainian-born pianist, and Inessa, a professional concert violinist and EMI recording artist. And also the dancers, Anastasia, Marco, Paul, and Katerina. Let's hear another round for them. I'd also like to recognize the people responsible not only for bringing the ensemble to the stage, but for the life-saving roles they've played in Ukrainian relief efforts. There was Dr. Ivan Kashchak, a Ukrainian Catholic priest whose diocesan service has included Hofstra's home village of Hempstead. Ole Dekailo, the son of Ukrainian immigrants who has dedicated his life to Ukrainian-American causes. They could not be here, unfortunately, because of illness, but here with us, and please stand, Christine Sizanenko, who spent many years volunteering for Ukrainian diaspora organizations, including the Iskra Dance Ensemble. Thank you so much. Thank you for helping to save lives during the Russian invasion, as well as educating us about Ukrainian culture as part of the diversity fabric of Long Island. Now, Central Islip is home not only to Long Island's finest high school choir, in my opinion, but arguably the nation's finest. And that's not hyperbole. From appearances on network television, the White House, and international competition, they have the CV to prove it, year after year, and with every new group after year. So please welcome the Central Islip High School Choir and its director, John Anthony. Where are you, John? Good to see you again.
Good to see you again. Nice to see you.
Want to talk for a minute or something?
Sure.
Okay. I think those mics should be alive. Power up those mics.
Good evening, everybody. Thank you for having us here tonight. It's really an honor, and I have actually a wonderful anecdote to share with you. In 2008, the concert choir and the show choir at school, along with my choreographer, Janine Eklund, we did a fundraiser at the time for a church and school in Bashtanka, Ukraine. And we had it's a variety show, and we sent them about $11,000 or so, which was, a fair amount for a high school choir to raise. And the church that was built back then, fortunately, still stands today. And that church has been involved in doing so much humanitarian work for so many of the Ukrainians who have been displaced out of their homes because of the war. And it just makes me really proud to have had something to do with that. So we're looking forward to next year. We're going to have the festival was called Have a Heart and Make a Joyful Noise. And that was our third one, and we have since done 9 of them. And I'm retiring in a few years, so before I go, we're going to have a Heart and Make a Joyful Noise 10, and we're going to once again be pouring our hearts into the people, for the people of Ukraine, to help them through this terrible tragedy that they've been going through. So. What we're going to sing for you tonight is 2 wonderful songs. One is a beautiful ballad by the jazz composer Darman Meter. Some of you may know who he is. Wonderful conductor, and this is just a gorgeous ballad about a man who had it written for his wife on the event of their marriage. And the next we're going to sing for you is a wonderful, wonderful classic spiritual, Every Time I Feel the Spirit, by oh my God, I always get a little
That guy.
Yes, that guy, right? Yeah. Oh, William Dawson, yes. So anyway, we hope you enjoy. I'm going to step down so I'm not in the kids' faces.
seen many that have beauty, yet is there none like to my name. That ever I saw. Therefore I dare to boldly say, I shall have the best and fairest name that ever I saw. Every time I feel the Spirit moving in my heart, I will pray. Yes, every time I feel the Spirit moving in my heart, I will pray. Up on the mountain, my Lord spoke. Out of his mouth came fire and smoke. Looked all around me, it looked so fine, till I asked my Lord if all was mine. Every time I feel the Spirit moving in my heart, I will pray. Yes, every time I feel the Spirit moving in my heart, I will pray. Jordan River is chilly and cold. It chills the body, but not the soul. There ain't but one train up on this track. It runs to heaven and right back. Every time I feel the Spirit moving in my heart, I will pray. Yes, every time I feel the Spirit moving in my heart, I will pray. Every time I feel the Spirit moving in my heart, I will pray. Yes, every time I feel the Spirit moving in my heart, I will pray. Yes, I will
Ladies and gentlemen,
Wow. Did you not hear the angels sing? I did, maybe for the first time. John, thank you.
Thank you so much. It's good to see you.
Let's have another round of applause for the Central Islip Concert Choir. Just fabulous. Did I go out on a limb and say they were the best in the country? I do that sometimes. And now, please turn your attention to the monitor for a message from Hofstra's president, Susan Poser.
Welcome to the 2022 celebration of suburban diversity. I am disappointed that other commitments prevented me from joining you this evening to enjoy the fabulous performances and celebrate the honorees. I send my very best wishes to tonight's honorees, Debbie Salas-Lopez of Northwell Health, Jillian Atkinson, Hofstra's Director of Intercultural Engagement and Inclusion, Elise de Castillo of Karasin, and Farah Mazawala of the Asian American Institute of Research and Engagement. Hofstra University is committed to diversity, equity, and inclusion in everything we do. And the National Center for Suburban Studies is a great example of this. The research and educational outreach from the center have helped dispel the myth of suburban monoculture and demonstrate that the suburbs, especially the New York suburbs, are a place where diverse cultures coexist and are celebrated. For this groundbreaking work, I extend my heartfelt thanks to Executive Dean Larry Levy, Academic Director and Hofstra Associate Professor Christopher Neat, and their team, including Debbie Tenorello and Ina Katz. Let's continue to join together to celebrate diversity and work towards equity and inclusion in our community and around the world. Thank you once again for being here and supporting Hofstra Center for Suburban Studies. Have a wonderful evening.
Thank you, President Poser. Well, here we are again, 14 years. It's hard to believe so much time has passed since our first honoree, Charles Wang, you may remember, the founder of Computer Associates and owner of the Islanders, shared his riveting story from arriving here penniless to leading the transformation of the region's economy. Of course, some of you may also remember that the program was 3 hours long. Yeah, it's amazing anybody dared come to the second. But you did, and you still do. And in support of something as amorphous as an ideal, we're not curing a disease, we're not housing the homeless, the ideal of diversity. And over the years, the Diversity Dinner has brought together thousands of people and netted nearly $2 million for research, scholarships, and community grants. So please give yourselves a hand. This is for you, because you've made this happen. Many of you have also heard me say that these are not my mother and father's suburbs. And judging by this room and the growing diversity in suburbs around the country, suburbs we study, it's certainly not. In fact, the growth of people of color has been so explosive, it's not even my 30-something children's suburb anymore. As the journal's welcoming letter says, diversity is the key to our economic and social success. And it's true. Embracing diversity isn't just a nice thing to do, it's the smart thing. The suburban newcomers already are enriching Long Island with their culture, as you sampled tonight in the splendid variety of food and the performance. But it's about more than that, and you know that. They, and really you, are energizing our region with the economic fuel of hard work and fresh ideas. You're the new entrepreneurs and investors, the new doctors, lawyers, educators, and employees at all levels of thousands of businesses. You're the new volunteer firefighters, soup kitchen, lawyers, Little League fields, the new glue that holds our communities together. Unfortunately, America's first suburb is still, and you've heard me say this before, is still America's most segregated. In everything from healthcare and housing to education and economic opportunity. It's not fake news that many people of color have been marginalized, denied mortgages, for instance, as our academic director, Chris Neat, has found. We know they suffer poor health outcomes, as Professor Martine Hackett has reported. We know it has long been the shame of the suburbs that Black and Latino kids are still packed into the poorest and poorest performing school districts. And that qualified non-whites are routinely denied teaching jobs. As Professor Bill Mangino and I, with the help of the Long Island Latino and Black Educators Associations, and I know the Long Island Latino folks are here today. Where are they? There you go. We also know that many of our LGBTQ and physically challenged neighbors, who are very much a part of the fabric of diversity as well, still see more adversity than opportunity. And worse, we've seen that discrimination kills. It certainly happened during the pandemic. Now, I don't mean to be the skunk at the diversity party. You should be anything but depressed about what you've heard. And I've been around long enough to know there has been progress. We are seeing diverse suburbanites penetrating every profession, acquiring real political and economic power. So even though we're still a long way from where we need to be, even though there's so much for so many of you in the room to do, this old-timer remains hopeful, as I hope this event makes you feel. And now for some well-deserved thank yous, which is my main job tonight. You'll hear more about them and from our honorees, and you heard about them from President Poser, Dr. Debbie Salas Lopez, Elise de Castillo, Farah Maswala, and Jillian Atkinson. But suffice to say that they honor us by letting us honor them. Thanks to dinner committee chairs and top sponsors, Scott Reckler, the CEO of RXR Realty, and Bob Cattell, the former CEO of National Grid USA, both of whom have generously supported the NCSS throughout the years, and Bob has been a mentor of mine for many more years than that. I'd also like to thank tonight's other top sponsors, Bethpage Federal Credit Union, PSEG Long Island, WAC Lighting, the law firm of Abrams Fensterman, and of course, JP Morgan Chase Global Philanthropy, with special thanks to Chase's Janique Drusis. I'm older than her, but she's another one of my mentors. I actually should mention your bosses, Jamie Dimon, who years before it became fashionable to spout DEI and ESG and all those alphabet soup, diversity and inclusion, he led the charge among other CEOs to practice what he preached and what he knew was, as I said, not just a nice thing to do to check a box, but the smart thing for business. And when it comes to kudos, which she hates, no one is more deserving than Ina Katz, who with little assistance has organized all 14 dinners to the tiniest detail. Also, please take a look at the cards on your table about the Long Island Advocate. It's a website, it's a website run by our communications school, where my real heart is, as a source of reliable information for news deserts in diverse, underserved communities. The Advocate not only trains the next generation of journalists to give voice to the voiceless, but offers readers a chance to speak for themselves in their own voices. In closing, please indulge me just a minute or two to talk about the National Center for Suburban Studies and our commitment to community-based research and engagement, including sharing our grants with other human service agencies who actually know more about what they're doing than we do. Despite the pandemic, or maybe because of it, the past year has been particularly busy. Everything from working with Northwell to boost COVID vaccinations in Nassau's poorest hamlet, to helping minority business enterprises, MBEs, compete for larger contracts through Ascend Long Island, an initiative funded primarily by JP Morgan with support from Northwell, PSEG, and National Grid. And I know we have big contingents from all those organizations, and I hope everyone got to meet or is going to meet and we're impressed by our diverse entrepreneurs who I know are here in bulk. So, for all our initiatives with name-droppy places like Harvard and Brookings, our international academic footprint, and the presence of our people on local and national news shows, nothing means more to the people at NCSS and to many other departments at Hofstra, like the School of Communications and the School of Public Health, which goes by another fancy name, than our work on Long Island. Through the Governor's Office of Storm Recovery, for instance, we're assuring that non-white communities have access to state and federal resources. We've promoted a commitment to an equity economy in our writing of the Regional Economic Development Council's annual report, which we've done for all 11 years of its existence. We're partnering with Cornell and other stakeholders so the chronically underserved see the benefits of public and private clean energy investments. So in all these and other projects, diversity is at the heart of what we do, and tonight it's what we celebrate. So next, it's my privilege to introduce an introducer, a special leader who was the keynote honoree at the second diversity dinner. I guess that would be 13 years ago or 14 years ago. I don't know. I can't, 12 years ago. I was never good at math. You don't have to be if you're a dean. That's one of the great things of having a fancy title. Anyways, please turn to the monitors for Northwell CEO Michael Dowling.
Good evening, everybody. I am sorry that I am not there in person, but I would like to congratulate you all. And especially I'd like to congratulate the Center for Suburban Studies for holding this event on an ongoing basis, and also to my good friend, Larry Levy, whom I've known obviously for a long period of time. To him and to all of the staff of the center, congratulations. And it is my great privilege and satisfaction to be able to introduce your keynote speaker tonight and one of your honorees, Dr. Debbie Salas-Lopez. Dr. Lopez holds a major role in our healthcare organization. She has been with us for about 3 years. She heads our community health and public policy part of our organization. She's out in the various communities across the region on an ongoing basis, providing public health services, whether it's educational services, whether it is working on diabetes, on food insecurity, on mental health. Does a spectacular job. Has created a health equity task force across the region. Has engaged with pastors and clergy from Long Island and New York City and elsewhere to deal with the increasing problems of mental health. And I have been delighted to be in person with her at many of those events. Debbie is also spectacularly involved during COVID. She's out in those communities doing an extensive amount of testing. Debbie is from the Bronx originally. She's written a memoir, A Girl from the Bronx. I would strongly urge that you read it. Debbie is compassionate, dedicated, committed, focused, somebody who cares extraordinarily about the health of the larger community, somebody who understands the role of public health, somebody who understands the social determinants of health, who understands that we need to be doing more in that area going forward. And I know, given Debbie's leadership and her advocacy, and her commitment, we will be extending our effort in those areas more and more, working with everybody who is in tonight and at this event. She's expert at working at each of the CBOs across the region. I could go on. Debbie is one of our shining stars in the health system, and I am so delighted that you get an opportunity to hear from her and to thank you for giving her a well-deserved honor. To all, my special thanks. Congratulations for everything you do. The more we work together, the more positive things can happen. Thank you all and enjoy the evening. And
thank you, Michael Dowling.
Welcome,
and
Debbie,
please,
to the stage.
I'm sorry, I stepped on his last line. Oh my, don't tell him, all right? Thank you, Michael. And please welcome to the stage for our keynote address, a girl from the Bronx, Dr. Debbie Salas Lopez.
So that's what I'm known for, being from the Bronx, which I'm very proud of. So thank you for the privilege of speaking at this event. Amazing. It's the diversity is so great to see. I congratulate the fellow honorees, Jillian, Elise, and Farah. Larry told me that for the first time in 14 years, all the honorees are women. Amazing. I'd like to recognize President of Hofstra University, Susan Poser, for making diversity and inclusion such a priority at the university. And Larry, kudos to you for all the work that your center is doing for making our suburbs more livable and for inviting me to deliver today's speech. I'd like to thank our President and CEO, Michael Dowling, for his leadership and unwavering commitment to community health equity. And of course, our Northwell team, who's here today. Without you, none of this is possible, so thank you for being here. So although I live in the suburbs today, I'm from the Bronx. It's where I grew up. I'm actually one of 5 children. My father was a minister. And he taught us early on some fundamental principles, things like integrity, honesty, respect for others, treating others with dignity, and service. The Bronx was a tough neighborhood in the 60s and 70s. The Bronx was burning. So oftentimes my siblings and I would walk to school through dilapidated areas that were in distress. They reminded us every day of poverty and plight. And somehow we learned how to cope with that daily fear and danger. Despite our lack of material things, we didn't feel poor. We actually felt like we had a lot. Because my dad taught us how to see life through a fundamental principle. And that is, how can we help others? How can we make the world a better place? Education was always important at home. So when I graduated from high school, my parents were thrilled. They, in fact, at that time, hadn't graduated high school themselves. My father asked me to support the family when I graduated from high school, so I went to work. But I sought a work-study program at a local community college. It took me 8 years to get a bachelor's degree because I never went to school full-time. It was only part-time. And finally, when I got my degree in biology, I knew I could combine my love for science with the love that my dad had taught me, the love about caring for other people. My dad and my mom beamed with pride when I finished my bachelor's degree, and he reinforced the fact that even though I had taken the longer road, that in fact I had achieved a very important goal. He was my role model. He had graduated college at the age of 64. My life took many turns after I received my bachelor's degree. I had my daughter, Christina, who's here in the audience today. She's the light of my life. And so we decided to buy a house. So I began to search for a home in a safe neighborhood, friendly neighborhood, a place that I could raise her. And I couldn't find someone to sell me a house in that kind of neighborhood. So I decided to get a real estate license and sell myself my own house. I purchased an old home, a fixer-upper, needed a lot of work, but it was in a safe and family-friendly neighborhood. And as soon as I did that, I started getting calls from family members and friends saying, can you help me buy a house? You bought a house, can you help me? And I said, of course. So in the early 1990s, I became a very successful real estate agent, partly due to my quest to always do things with those fundamental values, right? Honesty, integrity. I never sold a house I wouldn't buy myself. So in 1992, I met someone that would change my life. I sold a house to a local university dean, and she asked me a pivotal question. Do you ever meet people And you say hello, but you're not really listening. She asked me this. She said, "Is this what you wanted to do when you were growing up?" I said, "No, I almost didn't tell her because I figured she'd laugh." I said, "No, I wanted to be a doctor." She asked me, "What happened?" I said, I told her I didn't have the money and I didn't know how. I only went to school part-time. She replied something very profound that reminded me of fundamental principles. She said, "You have the money now, and I bet you can figure out how." So I did. I learned that you had to take an entrance exam to medical school. So I signed up to take the exam. And when I arrived at the site, I realized I was the oldest person in the room, in line. I almost walked out. But then I said, I didn't spend $350 to walk out. I'm going to take this exam. When I got my scores, I didn't know what they meant. And I said, you know what? I remember on Highway 21 in Newark, New Jersey, there was a sign that said New Jersey Medical School. I'm going to bring my scores there. So I walked into the Office of Admissions with my unofficial transcripts and my scores, and I left. 2 months later, I'm sitting in the real estate office. I got a call from the dean of the medical school, who's still there. His name is Dr. George Heinrich. He said, is this Debbie Salsop? I said, this is she. She said, I'm happy to tell you that you're part of the class of 1996 with an early admission and a 4-year scholarship to come to our medical school. I quit real estate. When I first walked into class, I realized, it's my first moment where I realized I walked into the classroom. I had never been in a classroom that big. I only went to part-time school, so it was always those small classrooms, you know. And I quickly figured out that I didn't have to be afraid if I sat in the front of the class, where I sat for the remainder of my years in medical school, oftentimes with Christina in tow. And while she was drawing the DNA molecule with crayons, because I didn't have a babysitter, I was taking notes. I graduated #1 in my class. Not because I was the smartest, by no means. I had the most grit, determination, and I had everything to lose if I didn't get it right. And so, when my name was called on stage, I walked on stage with Christina. I felt she had attended medical school with me in her own way. As I reflect today, I realize that success came as a result of all my life priors, both negative and positive. A combination of effort and endurance and not giving up. The ability to embrace every opportunity, even the detours. And a fearless approach to seemingly insurmountable odds. Odds that today I realize included social injustice, right? Educational inequities, guidance counselors that were too busy for me, poverty, violence, inequities that still exist today. And in fact, COVID reminded us of the painful realities of segregation and other forms of racism that drive inequities in healthcare. Our communities of color, they were infected more often, hospitalized more often, and died more often. The unmet social needs in our communities of color pre-existed COVID, but they were greatly exacerbated by COVID. So it's important to know that this work is about equity, that some communities need more help than others. COVID taught us how connected we all are, that what happens in one part of the world will affect us all. George Sibero, who's in the audience, recently said to me, Debbie, where do we go from here? How can we apply the lessons we learned about social injustice? How can we move from words to action? How can we capitalize on the relationships we now have to make a difference, a real difference in inequities? Since the pandemic, we've been working closely with faith-based, community-based organizations, particularly in hard-hit areas, communities of color, to provide testing and vaccines. We formed the Health Equity Task Force. Many members are in the audience today. I was so happy to see so many of you. 100 community, faith-based, tribal nation leaders that get together even today. And in fact, we haven't given up, even though the vaccine is ubiquitous. We're now working on new pandemics. The pandemic of mental health. How do we address mental health in our communities? In the end, here's what we've learned, that no one entity, no one person, no one organization can do this work alone. We must partner, establish trust, a common vision. Our ultimate goal is to build on relationships so we can make a difference. I know that many of you in this room have devoted your lives to human services and civil rights. I'd like to leave you with two thoughts to guide and encourage you as you continue these efforts. First, live your life through principles and values, especially the imperative to treat others with respect and dignity, no matter where they're from, the color of their skin. We live in a day where we must stand up for others, especially the vulnerable, when we see social injustices being done. Second, stay optimistic. Pay it forward. Find a way to share your life and your blessings with others. The difference you make may not be immediately apparent to you, but the joy and satisfaction that you'll receive will enrich your own life. And those that you touch, like me, will eventually touch others. As you know, I know you're busy in every imaginable way. Find the time to give of yourselves to others, to your families. A strong network of family and friends will allow you to confidently take on our community's challenges. I think most of us have learned the hard way that nobody acting alone can make our communities a healthier and safer place. But if we come together as one people, if we stay optimistic, if we stay determined and loyal to our values, as my dad loved to say, we can achieve anything we put our minds to. Thank you.
I was going to say another round of applause, but you beat me to it. All I can say is read the book. You know, it was a sin that I had to ask her to keep it to 10 or 12 minutes because it is an incredible life story that we're very lucky to have playing out in our own communities in ways, and at times, someone who helped lead the fight against COVID in underserved communities at times like these. So now for a really special, if truncated, part of the evening, please welcome Dr. Christopher Neat, there he is, the academic director of the National Center for Suburban Studies, and really it's academic heart and soul gives us a level of credibility that, you know, we just wouldn't have. So Chris, thank you.
Thanks so much, Larry. One of the great pleasures of working at the National Center for Suburban Studies, and actually also in my day job working as a professor of sociology at Hofstra, is working with students, whether we're engaging them in our research projects at the center or whether I'm speaking to them about, in this semester, environmental justice in my classroom. One of the things that gives me hope and inspires me is working with them. And sometimes you see students that enter college already inspired, and others kind of come to become interested in issues of social environmental justice during their time on campus. But especially with those who enter already excited, I feel like I'm seeing more of them over the last few years. More students are kind of arriving on campus, ready to talk about social inequities, ready to talk about health inequities. And I just want to say, I think that reflects the work that parents do, raising their children that Dr. Salas Lopez described, and it also reflects the work that K through 12 teachers do, which is so seldom fully appreciated. And that's why it gives me such a pleasure to introduce the winners of the Hofstra Bethpage Federal Credit Union High School Diversity Essay Contest. Bethpage has sponsored this contest all 12 years we've had it. More than 1,000 high school students and dozens of schools have participated, winning more than $100,000 in prizes over those 12 years. So let's give a round of applause to Bethpage Federal Credit Union for sponsoring this. And Rob Suarez and the entire Bethpage team, please stand to be recognized. Where are you? I don't know which side they're sitting on. Right over there. Unfortunately, due to COVID and other considerations, our student winners are not here tonight, but we in Bethpage hope to recognize them at a separate event. We do have Hofstra students and administrators here who undertook the difficult and important task of judging the contest. So please stand when I call your name. Margot Latti, Jocelyn Rodriguez, Ellie Bell, Travis Hermit, Vanessa Wright, Stephen Kurd, Kayla Statiker, Dominique Smith-Coulter, Hugo Morales, and Teresa Whitfield. Let's give them a round of applause. And what was most exciting about this contest is the quality of the research and writing by students that were as young as 14. And in fact, the winner of the very first contest was a high school freshman competing against sophomores, juniors, and seniors. So we often give this award to even students who are just starting in high school. The judges said that the quality of this year's 100 entries was exceptionally high and made their task especially difficult. So let me first announce the first place winner, which was Joseph Atier of Bayshore High School. Joseph will receive $3,500, and if he chooses to attend Hofstra, we will at least double that. His essay is reprinted in the journal. Second prize of $2,000 goes to Tiana Bowie, also of Bayshore. Over the years, Bayshore has collected more winners by far than any other school. And that's a testament not only to the students at this diverse school, but again, to their parents and their teachers. The third prize winner is Sanvi Patel from Herricks High School. Sanvi will receive $1,000, and again, if she attends Hofstra, we will double that amount. And now I will turn the mic back to my esteemed colleague and Dean of the Center, Larry Levy.
So at the very first diversity dinner in 2009, Tai Wong, who with her husband Tony founded WAC Lighting, brought a marvelous young dancer all the way from China. Ever since, Tai has sponsored other Chinese talent at this event and even performed herself. And in her spare time, she managed to create a Chinese cultural arts center serving Queens and Long Island. Well, tonight, Tai will miss her first diversity dinner in 14 years as she was called overseas on business. But she was kind enough to work with Lily Han. Lily, there you are. To bring us one of China's leading choreographers, Grant Zhuang, and the Glow Community Center's Chinese Cultural Folk Dance Group. Thank you. So a little history lesson. That was a 2,000-year-old classical Chinese fan dance, with fan meaning both goodness and kindness, a dance that embodies the physical manifestations of grace, elegance, chivalry, and martial ability. So please give another round of applause for choreographer Grant Chuang, along with fellow dancers Linda Yang, Jenny Zhang, Fan Dong Kong, and Subin Bin. Thank you. Thank you so much. And now, where are you? Where is he? There he is. I'd like to introduce to you all Hofstra's Chief Diversity and Inclusion Officer, Cornell Craig.
Thanks, Larry. And one more round of applause for all the talent we've seen tonight. This has been a wonderful evening. I can't overemphasize how important diversity, equity, and inclusion are to Hofstra University, now and even more so in the future. For the second straight year, less than 50% of our incoming first-year class identified as white. And this year is our largest incoming class in recent years. And we expect that trend to continue as Long Island and the rest of our country continues to be diverse. In short, diversity truly is the key to our success in every way, including academically. And this event, this celebration of suburban diversity, is one way to declare and share our aspirations beyond our campus. My role tonight gives me the great pleasure to introduce 3 more of our esteemed honorees. You can and should read about them in the journal, but suffice to say that they, along with keynote speaker Debbie Salas-Lopez, are truly deserving for making Long Island a better place to live for everyone. So, moving on to our honorees. A top graduate of Hofstra's School of Law, a woman who could have had her pick of positions at top law firms, Debbie Elise Castillo instead chose to serve her Latinx community at Kerosene, not-for-profit that protects the right of new immigrants. Now, as executive director, Elise is expanding the organization's ability to serve hundreds of people from dozens of countries. Please turn your attention to the monitors.
I was born in New Mexico, but lived in 8 different states and in 3 different countries. The countries were an opportunity for me to get to work with marginalized communities abroad. And although I had always wanted to be an attorney, it was working with these communities that really solidified for me my desire to work with immigrant communities here in the United States. I had never been to Long Island when I came out here to go to Hofstra. I arrived here and I was surprised because in my mind, Long Island was synonymous with New York City. But when I began working with immigrant clients at the Hofstra Law Clinic, I realized Long Island is really a very diverse community made up of people from all across the world. The red hair and blue eyes and freckles should not fool anybody. I am a very proud Latina and was raised by a mother who made it very clear from the time that I was little that I should feel proud of my heritage. And I had never quite fit anywhere because I didn't look like the other Latinos, but I didn't have the culture of the kids who looked more like me, and so finding my place was very difficult. And I think in a way, it helped me identify with immigrants because as they're looking for their place in a new community, that's kind of the way that my life experience has been, trying to find a place where I fit. Coreson provides legal services, community education, and advocacy for the immigrant community here on Long Island, which is something that we've done now for nearly 40 years. The Central American Refugee Center in many ways is a misnomer. It's a tribute to our past, but it is not reflective of the community that we work with today. Our clients come from across the world. I think that the Long Island community is also realizing the future of Long Island is immigrants. Immigrants are our new business owners. They're the new homeowners. They are the new people in the houses of government and on our school board. And I would like to think that we will continue to see our Long Island community embracing newcomers and recognizing that they are a value add for our region.
So I was born in El Salvador I came to the United States when I was 12 years old. I grew up in Bayshore, and from there on, I went on to college and have been working at Carecen for a year and a half. The desire to work with immigrant community came naturally to me. My work at Carecen is my first job after college, and I consider it such a blessing, not only because of the work that I do and that it allows me to work with the community that I very much love and support, but also because it has provided immense guidance. So Elise is a model. She's truly a role model and a person that I look up to just as a leader. She's fierce in her work, and that in itself is inspirational.
And I must correct myself. My apologies, Elise. Elise Di Castillo, please welcome her to the stage.
Okay, well, I'm shorter than Cornell. Buenas noches, ¿cómo estamos? Dang. Good, I like you guys already. First of all, thank you, Cornell, for the wonderful introduction. Thank you to Larry and to Hofstra for this incredible honor. Congratulations to tonight's other honorees. Debbie Salas Lopez is a tough act to follow, but I'll do what I can. And finally, thanks to all of you for joining me tonight for such a special evening. I'm going to warn you, I'm a crier, and I have no planned remarks, so this could end in disaster, so bear with me. I have the privilege of standing here tonight for 3 reasons. The first is that I was blessed, here come the waterworks, I'm telling you. I was blessed with the most remarkable parents who instilled in me the value of education, of dedication and integrity, and perhaps most importantly, of service to others. You guys know what Latina moms are like, right? You've met a few of them? Okay, well, I've got one. And from the time that I was in diapers, she forced down my throat our culture and our language. And she always said, finger in the air, as Latina moms are wont to do, algún día me darás las gracias. One day you will thank me. Pues mami, gracias. The second reason that I am here tonight is because of the incredible mentors who have guided me along my path. People like the amazing Loris Wren, who is the director of the Asylum Clinic at Hofstra, who took me from a law student to a lawyer and opened my eyes to the needs of immigrants on Long Island. And people like Larry Levy, who I wish from the bottom of my heart were my father, with apologies to my actual father, who flew halfway across the country to be here with us tonight. You might be my professional idol and funny as all get out, but you're not Larry Levy. And finally, I'm here tonight because of the amazing team at Carecen that gives me the honor of leading them. This award is truly for them because it is their dedication to our mission and to the immigrants that we serve that inspires me every day. A number of them are here with us tonight, including one who is celebrating his birthday. Happy birthday, Emerson. I had to do it, I'm sorry. But there's something particularly special about the team at Carecen that goes beyond the dedication to the mission. And it's the fact that there's one thing that unites all of us, and that is that not one of us is native to Long Island. In our staff of almost 30, we are transplants from 11 different countries across 4 continents who have come to Long Island, put down roots, and have dedicated ourselves to making our region a more just and welcoming place. And I think that that is absolutely incredible. So to my Carecen family, yes, please. To my Carecen family, this one is for you. Muchísimas gracias a todos. Enjoy the rest of the evening, and thank you so much.
One more round of applause for honoree Elise de Castillo. Once Farah Moswala decided to wear hijab as a student in school, where she was one of very few Muslims, she has not stopped standing up for her faith and the entire Asian American community. After serving in both Republican and Democratic administrations, Farah has doubled down on her passion by creating the Asian American Institute for Research and Engagement, which, we are proud to say, chose Hofstra as the site of its first issue symposium this September. Please turn your attention to the monitors.
So I grew up in upstate New York in Pauling, in a small town. It was not very diverse. I think I was the only minority in the entire town. So the Asian American community is not a monolith. It's made up of different religions, cultures, ethnicities, and what we describe as Asian hate can be Islamophobia, it could be anti-Sikhism, it could be against East Asians. I did experience a lot of Islamophobia while growing up, especially after I started putting the hijab on, which I started in 12th grade, and I noticed all of a sudden the way my teachers perceived me, the students perceived me, it was in a very negative light compared to prior to me wearing the hijab. I started wearing it because I really felt that the hijab was an outward expression of my inward spirituality. This was part of my religion. It was part of making me a better person. Advocacy, fighting for marginalized communities, working towards making America more inclusive, I think that was just a part of me because I faced so many adversities growing up that just naturally I was fighting and advocating for change since I was in high school. We had a lot of discrimination, and it wasn't just towards my community, it was towards the African American community, immigrant communities, the Hispanic community, and I think we needed a way for us to create solidarity together so that we can advocate for all of our communities. The more we're working together, the better we can make our voices heard. I was working for one of the communities and I had an event at my house for one of the Republican candidates, and then she had invited me to her office and said, hey, do you want to come work for me part-time? I said, you know what, I'll just come and see it. And I just fell in love with it. I loved being able to see the change happening right there, and it was so exciting and you felt like you were making a difference. So in Long Island, I have found change towards all minority communities. I think we're moving in the right direction. I think the needle is shifting, and I think we are working towards creating a more inclusive Long Island.
Please welcome to the stage Farah Moswala.
Thank you so much. Thank you, Hofstra University, President Susan Posner, the National Center for Suburban Studies, and our dear friend Larry Levy, who has done this year after year and organized this event for 14 years. He is a mentor and has guided me through this entire process. Thank you. I am truly honored and humbled to receive this recognition. I would like to congratulate all the other honorees, Dr. Debbie Salas-Lopez, Elise Castillo, and Jillian Atkinson. I know their amazing work in the community, and they are truly inspirational. In fact, Debbie, when I heard your speech, I did just order your book on Amazon. I am grateful to my family and friends and fellow advocates for their support and their guidance. Two of my daughters do go to Hofstra University. One is in the med school in her last year, and my other daughter is in the law program at Hofstra. And I did my bachelor's and my master's from Hofstra, so we are all part of the Hofstra family. The National Center for Suburban Studies is a resource for so many of us. This past September, AIR partnered with the Center for Suburban Studies and JP Morgan to create awareness about anti-Asian sentiment. Long Islanders have many voices. We come from different cultures, religions, races, and ethnicities. Our diverse communities face shared issues and unique challenges. AIR is one of the many voices on Long Island. We are the voice of the Asian American community on Long Island. AIR, the Asian American Institute for Research and Engagement, is the only nonprofit that advocates and unites the Pan-Asian American community on Long Island. The data and research that we conduct help tell our stories and drive our advocacy. Among our many initiatives that we accomplished this year, we commissioned a national-wide poll to understand Asian attitudes towards Asian hate, and starting this month, we are organizing a series of workshops to create solidarity amongst the different communities. Because although we have different voices, we need to come together and be heard and create a more inclusive Long Island. Once again, I thank you, Larry, Suburban Studies, Hofstra, and all of you. Thank you.
One more round of applause for honoree Farah Moswala. As a child, Jillian Atkinson learned some hard lessons about how hostile the world can be to people of color. It's lucky for Hofstra that her early experiences, including wise and nurturing parents, produced such an empathetic and determined educator. As Hofstra's Chief Diversity Officer, I can say without hesitation that nobody on our campus has done more to make students from underrepresented and diverse backgrounds feel more comfortable than, as the students would say, Miss Jill. Please turn to the monitors for the video.
So I was actually born in England to Jamaican parents, and we migrated here when I was around 7. We had initially looked in Valley Stream, and as soon as my dad walked through the door and they saw that we were Black, the realtor had said, "We're so sorry, the house has been sold." So instead, we moved to North Baltimore. It wasn't necessarily easy there either. On the day that we moved in, what we initially thought was a welcome note turned out to be an actual petition on our door, signed by all of our neighbors, saying that by our presence, they were afraid of their property tax going down and the neighborhood becoming run down, and they wanted us to leave. One of the other incidents that I had was my next door neighbor who had become a close friend, one of my few friends. Within like 3 or 4 months of moving into the neighborhood, her mom had told me that, she could no longer play with me because she was afraid that my Blackness would rub off on her. There were some definite trying times in the very beginning, and being included and feeling like I belonged there was just definitely not what was going on. But my parents were undeterred. My father always reminded me, "Jillian, let this be a lesson to you to give people what you would want to be given." And that has really stayed with me and resonated with me until this day, which is why I really went into diversity, equity, inclusion, because I never wanted anybody to feel the way that I felt those days. So I saw a position here for Assistant Dean of Advising. I applied and I was given the position. What slowly started to happen was that more and more students of color would make appointments to come and see me, because I was one of the few advisors of color at the time. And little by little, my name became known within the Black community here at Hofstra. I am so blessed for the experience I've had here. It has really helped me to grow in so many ways. And I think what I have brought to Hofstra is a true sense of belonging for all students. I am really excited about the future of Hofstra. I am excited about what Dr. Poser has brought to our campus. Her commitment to diversity, equity, inclusion is something that I have really seen synergy around everybody. Every department is now coming together to better understand, what does that really mean for our campus? I'm excited about what the future of Hofstra holds, especially when it comes to becoming a more inclusive campus, one where all of us feel as if we belong.
Please welcome to the stage my friend, my sister, my colleague, Jillian Atkinson.
Wow. Thank you so much for that. Good evening, all. Unlike the phenomenal Dr. Salas, I did not, I wrote down my notes, so bear with me. Good evening, all. First, I would like to thank the National Center for Suburban Studies, President Poser, and specifically Larry Levy and Ina Katz, and the nominating committee for this very prestigious honor. Next, I would love to thank my Hofstra colleagues, whether it's from the Office of Student Leadership and Engagement, the Intercultural Engagement and Inclusion, my peer educators, a phenomenal new leader, Vice President Eads. No matter how strange or wild one of my ideas might sound, they always jump right into my wonderland of inclusion, and I thank you for that. Finally, I would like to humbly thank my friends and family, or better yet, just family, because if I consider you a friend, you are family. I would not be here tonight without the perpetual support of my family. As a single mom, your family sacrifices so much, and I'm a crier too, so just bear with me. Jean, you know this. My family sacrifices so much to help your dreams come true. So thank you to my sister Frances, my son Jordan, my son Gavin, and my daughter Kennedy for all the sacrifices you have given throughout the years. One person in particular who was monumental to my success was my father, Gilberto Atkinson. Not just for giving up, not just for never giving up, his always rebellious, twice divorced, single mother daughter would one day turn her life around, but for graciously welcoming her and her 3 children back into his home and giving her the encouragement and fabulous co-parenting support she needed to do so. My dad also taught me so many lessons throughout my life that are instilled within me to this day. You see, he was used to being an outcast, an outsider his entire life. He left his birthplace, Cuba, and migrated to Jamaica at the age of 8. Not understanding the language or the culture of his new home, he had to learn quickly or contend with the constant teasing and being looked upon as an outcast by his young peers. However, he was determined to make his land of his parents' birth his home too. Shortly after he graduated from high school, he heeded the motherland, Great Britain's call to her Commonwealth countries to return home to assist in the rebuilding efforts which had ravaged the empire after World War II. So my dad, as a young man, left the comforts of his warm island home to sail thousands of miles north to become a member of what we now call the Great Windrush generation. Again, there he was placed in the role of an outsider. This time it was the color of his skin, not the words from his mouth, that made him an outcast. But again, my father was determined to stay in his new land and create a life for himself. After a few years in the UK, he met my mother, Ivy, and married, had my sister and myself. We bought a home and led a good life in Birmingham, England. My dad had gone to night school and earned an electrician license and worked for British Telecom, continually fighting prejudice and bias the entire way. However, he never allowed that to stop him from seeing the good in all people. Fast forward a few years, my mother realized she missed her family tremendously, most of whom had located from Jamaica to New York, and she wanted to move closer to them. At first, my dad was not keen on this idea. Moving to the U.S. He had a good job and a great life in England, his favorite pub, the Bromford, as well as his beloved football team, Aston Villa. Sorry, Gavin, not a Manchester United. As a plethora of friends he had made after 20 years in the UK, he was finally enjoying his insider life. But my mother wanted a greater sense of family for her children, so eventually my dad agreed, and in 1977, off we went to the US. After a year of searching and numerous rejections, we found a home in North Belmore, a working middle-class neighborhood with a good school district. You see, education was a top priority for my parents. On the day we moved into our new home, there was a note on my door. My dad anxiously opened it, thinking it was a welcome note from our new neighbors. You see, when we left the UK, our neighbors, who identified as British, Indian, Pakistani, West Indian, and from all other regions of the globe, threw my parents a 2-day Yes, a 2-day farewell party. It started from Friday afternoon and did not end until Sunday, when we all said our tearful goodbyes. It was that type of acceptance my dad was expecting as he opened the note. Instead, what he found was a petition signed by almost every neighbor on our block, objecting to us moving in. They cited their fear of their property value going down as a motivation for their petition. My parents were crestfallen. However, again, my dad was resilient about his decision to move to Belmore. He said, "Give it time, Jill. They don't know us. Let's not judge them until they get a chance to know us. Then they will change." In the early years, he experienced countless acts of bias from our neighbors. However, when given a chance, my dad would still attempt to talk and engage with them. He worked hard to find similarities instead of our differences, shoveling snow from in front of an elderly neighbor's walk, asking neighbors to advise when fixing his car who he knew the neighbor had a similar vehicle, and of course, getting involved with the United Methodist Church in Belmore. Eventually, a strange thing began to happen. Our neighbors began to bring dishes to our home, shoveled our walk when my dad got stuck at work, offered a helping hand when he was fixing his car, and was invited to be a trustee at the church. Throughout the years, I remember the lessons my dad taught me, which was never to judge someone from the outside. Give grace, stay patient, be kind, and most importantly, give people what you would most want to have been given. Find a way not to get bitter, Jill, but to give better. My father's words cemented my journey in this work. On November 30th, 2020, my dad unfortunately passed away from COVID-19. The day of his funeral was a sad day. However, as the hearse drove by our house for his final goodbye to his home of 42 years, every single one of our neighbors stood outside in the pouring rain and saluted him. Seeing their tears mixed with the rain was one of the most beautiful sights I had ever witnessed. In the end, my father proved through hard work, perseverance, one person indeed could make a difference. Small steps go a long way. So I implore everyone tonight to remember my father's words. 1, try not to judge what you don't know. 2, give grace. 3, stay patient. 4, be kind. And always knowing that by seeking our similarities, the gifts we can uncover could be a better understanding of each other as people and not our differences as labels. Thank you all so much.
Thank you, Cornell. Thank you, all our honorees. All inspiring stories. I want to mention a couple things. The videos were shot by Brian Potts of Hofstra University Relations, as he has done for a number of years now, and did a wonderful job, I think, I hope. You all agree. And Mohinder Singh Taneja, who helped hand out there he is over there, helped hand out the trophies. One thing about Mohinder, who has worked for 2 different county executives and a whole bunch of other people, this dinner was actually his idea. I mean, people think it was my idea. It was not my idea. We were going to have a dinner for an academic conference, an international conference on suburban change, with about 200, 300 professors coming in from around the country. And I was told by my boss that you're supposed to have a dinner for the professors. And I said, okay, so we'll have a dinner. And I had a community committee. We always have community committees on almost every project. And Mohinder spoke up and said, why don't you invite the community to this dinner? And I said, Mohinder, I don't think the professors I mean, this is not really fair, but I don't know how much they really care coming from all around the world to see other professors. This is what they're there for. And Mohinder persisted, and everybody around the room said, yeah, this is a great idea. So, what are you going to do? If you can have a committee, you got to listen to it, and you should listen to it. And we ended up inviting the community, and we had 350 people that first year. We had no idea what we were doing. I think we spent more than we took in, even with all those people coming. But Mohinder is still with us, and he should get the credit for having thought up this idea. So this pretty much this does conclude the formal program. We have the room till at least 9:30, so feel free to keep enjoying your desserts and conversation. Also, please take another look at the digital ad journal to see more about our supporters and performers. And take the card promoting the Long Island Advocate, which again, as I said, is produced by our students. We'd also like you to know one other thing, that all the unused food from the networking hour will be donated to the Interfaith Nutrition Network. So please, I hope you had a great time, but please drive carefully and believe in the power of diversity. It's in all of you, but it's best together. Could all the honorees come up for a group picture? Jillian, could you come up for a group picture? Elise, Farah. Debbie, Elise, Jillian, and Farah. Up to the stage, please. Where's Farah? Farah, there you are. Farah? Let me get one with the honorees and then you come in. 1 second. Sorry? Yeah.
Should I get my award?
right. I'm better up here than on the golf course. There's Carmike, one of my golfing buddies.
Larry,
Bob,
it's a pleasure,
good to
man.
see you,
Good
man.
pleasure seeing you again, man.
Thank
See
you for
again
coming,
soon.
man.
No problem.
This is great.
It's my pleasure.
Keep in touch. We're doing a reunion in December.
Allegedly sometime. If you
Yeah.
can make it.
I'll
All
try.
right, let's see. It was a pleasure. That's it, all right?
for Miss Jillian. Please come to the stage. Oh, my knees. That was rough. That was rough.
I'm talking about like the sorority spot.
about 5 minutes when I sit down in my car. For sure.
Let's have some fun. Y'all live life, and when you're dead, you're done. I said let the good time roll. I don't care if you're young or old. You ought to get together and let the good time roll. Don't sit there mumbling, talking trash. If you want to have a ball, you got to go out and spend some cash. And let the good time roll now. I'm talking about the good time. Well, it makes no difference whether you're young or old. All you got to do is let the good time roll.
I look crazy. Right, right.
Wash your face and hands. Wash your face and hands. Where you getting that kitchen makes noise in pots and pans. Where you wear old dresses, sun comes shining through. Where you wear old dresses, sun comes shining through. I can't believe all of this belongs to you. I believe it was all you doing now. I believe it was all you devil now. Well, Lord, I work, that's my money goes. Shake, round and roll. Shake, round and roll. Shake, round and roll. Shake, round and roll. Well, you won't do right, say no doggone soul. Hey, I like a one-eyed cat peeping in a seafood store. I like a one-eyed cat peeping in a seafood store. But I can look at you, tell you ain't no child no more.